What's going on, YouTubers, gamers, and hobbyists out there? Welcome to this really long anticipated by myself memory lane video, which is revolving around the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, do you remember a while back I did a series of 3 videos on my ZX81, starting with 5 games I loved on my ZX81. Well, this first intro is going to be 5 games I loved on my Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, I had the 48K version, but it's more also about like the memories of the time and the era. So I'm going to be going through 5 games on my Spectrum that, and it's not a hierarchy or no order of preference. It's just literally the first 5 games that came to me. And as you know, the Spectrum had thousands of games, so everybody is going to have a unique viewpoint on this, and I appreciate that. But I do feel there were a few games that kind of crossed over and crossed more or less everybody's path that had a Spectrum. So I do think that. But yeah, so we are going to look at 5 games that I loved on the Spectrum. Okay, on to our first game then, just picked off the list I've written, and the game is Nifty Lifty. Now, this is literally one of the first games I saw first hand on the Spectrum. It's because it was my friend's. My friend had the Spectrum before I did, and it was one of his games. And the premise of this game is very, very simple, as a lot of games were back then, which is what made them so great, in my humble opinion. So you got this little guy running around this platform here. As you can see, there's like what looks like a lift in the middle. It goes up and down, and the idea is just to collect all the objects running through without being hit by this sort of lift thing that goes up and down. And as you progress, you start off with 1 lift, and then 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. As you can see, it's just a very, very simple, very easy. Well, probably not so much easy as in reflex easy nowadays, but at least you didn't have to jump. We'll come on to that on another game, I'm sure. But yeah, it was an easy game. It was the first, as you can see, what we saw on the loading screen. Nothing fancy about it. It's just literally that simple premise, simple game, and it was quite good fun. And I remember it fondly because, like I say, it was one of the first games I saw firsthand, as in right before my eyes, and actually had a go on to play. So yeah, so that was Nifty Lifty. Okay, so on with the next game, which is Hunchback by Ocean Software. Forgive me, but I ought to do a series of videos on some of the software companies or software houses of the time. But yes, Hunchback by Ocean made it to number 1 in the charts for quite a while, I believe. Yeah, it was. This is more about the memory of the game being around at the time, and the fact that it was used in a lot of advertising for the Spectrum. Well, a lot of games were used in conjunction with the Spectrum to advertise the Spectrum, like in a box with a couple of games or something like that, and they'd happily go hand in hand with one another. But Hunchback, yeah, it's also about the nostalgia of the marketing of the time, and how it was marketed. And I think because it came in a lot of we came with the Spectrum in a lot of cases. A lot of kids back then, from my era, had the game, and yeah, I loved it. It was a simple premise, as you can see there. You were playing Quasimodo, basically, and your mission was to rescue Esmeralda by jumping along castle ramparts, and like the soldiers would try and stab you with their spears, and you'd get chased by someone with a sword behind you, and they'd fire arrows at you, and all sorts of traps, and you have to swing across gaps and all sorts of things. I never completed it. I never even got halfway to Esmeralda, and I can say that quite happily. It was hard, but I loved the game. But it was hard, and a lot of games were like kind of like semi-cloned off of the back of this premise, because it's platform gaming at its simplest. But at the time, fantastic. So that's Hunchback. That was for the Spectrum 48K as well. So on with the next game on this list, which is Barry McGuigan's Boxing. That might seem like an odd one, but this is a game that a friend of mine had actually, and we had such competitive games together on this, on his Spectrum, and we would spend many hours on this game, like when we were supposed to be doing homework or something instead. As you can see, that familiar screen where you choose whether you've got using the keyboard or you're using like a Kempston joystick, very popular joystick for the time, and it just brings back a lot of memories. This one, finally here, I don't have a lot of screenshots, but finally here is a screenshot of the actual game, and it was quite good because although the graphics are quite, simplified by today's standards, and the audience are represented by little circles, basically, every so often you'd see like a flash appear from the crowd, like as if someone was taking a shot with their camera, which was quite good fun. And if you stood around, and this, my friend and I discovered this like part of the game, if you just stood around and did nothing each round, gradually the crowd would dwindle down until there was no crowd there at all. Like they got bored and walked off. We thought that was pretty funny actually. But as you see, different coloured shorts and that, you could customise your boxer in the best way that you could for the time, and it was really good. It was nice because it wasn't just like you could actually use some sort of strategy, and you could choose the type of style your boxer had, whether he was a slugger or whatever, or light on his feet, whatever style of boxer you had. I mean, we used to call ourselves like Rocky Balboa and stuff like that, which is kind of nothing to do with Barry McGuigan, is it? Because it's not a heavyweight boxing game. It wasn't designed really to be accurate or anything like that. But we'd use the keyboard. We'd go at it, and we'd have a load of fun. So that's why this one is on my list, because of the many, many wonderful hours my friend and I had playing each other on this game. Okay, so we are now into the big boys of this video, and Manic Miner. Oh boy, what a game! What a classic game! This was actually my first ever experience with a platform game. Now, Bug Bite Software were the first company to release this for the 48K Spectrum. That was in 1983, but then later that same year, moved over to Software Projects, because Matthew Smith took all the rights with him to the other company, so they could release it under their banner. So yeah, so it eventually became Software Projects. But first off, it was Bug Bite, then Software Projects. Now, the opening home screen is a classic as well. Everything about it is classic. The tune in the Hall of the Mountain King, the piano there, Minor Willie. it's just fantastic. And you knew you were in for a good game. I don't know what it was. It invoked a feeling of this is a good game. As you can see here, this is just some of the levels, and they're all rather strange looking. As we see here, the cold room. They're all kind of set up like this. I do remember I first played this on my friend's Spectrum. I remember having to be like pixel perfect on the jumps, and the timings just had to be spot on. You basically had to go around collecting keys to open like the door that you could then get out of to go on to the next level. You had like oxygen that would run down, so you had a time limit for each screen, each phase. Here we can see the central cavern. I think that was the first screen of the first level of the game. They all had strange names like Eugene's Lair and things like that, and they all became like cult classics. I can't claim any fame to completing the game. I just wasn't that good, but I have seen it completed. But many hours of fun. I just plowed all my time into games like this. Obviously, when I had a Spectrum of my own, I just still spent more time playing this game. I had it on various formats as well, but the Spectrum version is the ultimate classic, and I just love this game. It is, for me, one of the best games ever to hit the Spectrum. Okay, so we're on to the final one on this video. What a game to end on. This is Jet Set Willy, my friends, and possibly if I had to do a top 5 favourite games of all time, I wouldn't be shocked if this was my number 1, to be honest. So, I mean, this game was such an icon. It's become iconic more as the years go by. Now, this game came with a color code card, which was a way of stopping copying. I might do another video on that separately at a later date, but yeah, because strangely enough, people back in the day used to copy off the cassettes, and who'd have thought, right? As you can see here, the loading screen was a fairly simple affair. Literally Jet Set Willy with the triangle in the back. And sometimes it would just say Jet Set Willy is loading. That is it. Yeah. As you can see here, the graphics are reminiscent of Manic Miner. It obviously would be Matthew Smith doing the coding for the game, who wrote it. I think he wrote it in his bedroom, actually, all these games. So, yeah, like I say, whereas Manic Miner, he's going, to the right of the screen or to the end, the exit on the screen, left and right platformer. This was just a up and down, left and right, any which way. It was set in a big mansion, and there were many more screens, and a lot harder than Manic Miner even in this one. So yeah, it was pretty incredible. The chapel here, I always like to get to the chapel. I used to think, yeah, I'm doing well by getting to the chapel. And these other there's so many strange screens and rooms that I could comment on. I could spend hours talking about them. Hours. So many iconic names like the Nightmare Room, that where you turn into a pig and you have to fly across one side to the other, and he changed into Willy again. It's just incredible. They're just strange psychedelic ideas. And this one here, don't you think this is rather reminiscent of Hunchback? Do you think? And then when you died, the foot came down on your head and crushed you like an ant. It was just like, the memories. Yeah, this I think was probably my favourite game ever on the Spectrum. I mean, ever. I reckon this would be number one. In fact, this video is inspiring me to make my top five, not just 5 games I loved, my top 5 games. I mean, this is number one without question. The artwork on, the whole bit, just the gameplay. I mean, me and my friend used to spend every evening, for weeks on end, just playing this game, just congratulating ourselves if we got like one step further, because it had to be pixel perfect, pretty much like Manic Miner, but this was even more so. It was much harder. There were a few pokes that you could insert into the game to give you like infinite lives and silly things like that. Well, infinite lives was a must. The collect all items as you enter the room. Even with those two, I couldn't do this game to save my life, and yet I've seen it done. But man, yeah. But the joy, the nostalgia behind this game is just so overwhelming. I just love it. And so this concludes my video of the top, or not the top, but 5 games I loved on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. There will be a couple more videos in this series on the Spectrum. Like I say, later on I will probably look to do a top 5 overall, but I hope to see you there. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and a thumbs down if you didn't. That's fine, whatever, just let me know. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on another video. Thank you and goodbye.